Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to showcase a build that I made that is a Legacy of the Road Shaper Impaler. This build is based around this item, the Legacy of the Roads, that in case you do not know, is a stuff that gives you some generic bonus, +5 to level of all spell skill gems, which is good, discuss speed, but the important part is one, it gives you Eldritch Battery, and the other part is that it basically, as you spend energy shield, you're gaining some remembrances, which are, you can see here, I have 4 with the rose petals floating around me. Once you get 10, which is when you spend 2000 energy shield, you can summon the Shaper, which will do one of 3 abilities. In this case, I have Shaper's Devastation, which is the Shaper Slam. I seem to have a slight visual bug because you didn't see the explosion here or the slam hitting the ground, but it does work. The item is pretty buggy. You have a lot. Sometimes it deals no damage, and sometimes the Shaper gets stuck. But when it works, that's what it does. It deals the slam, and that deals a pretty large amount of damage with like 4000 damage effectiveness. And the idea here is that the Shaper is going to do an Impale. And the Impale, then I'm going to capitalize using the new ring, the Wolf Spike, which the last line, as you can read, basically gives you a chance to keep the strongest Impale on the enemy. Obviously, the strongest Impale is going to be the one that the Shaper did, and then I'm going to just keep that for the full duration of the Impale. And how I'm going to capitalize on that? Hitting as fast as possible, which will be with, in my case, double strike of momentum. I'm going to basically I use the shape to do the slam, get the impale, and then I attack as fast as possible with 2 of these so that the impale remains permanently for the duration of impale, which is like 8 seconds. Now, I'm going to go in a bit more detail afterwards, but to start, I'm going to showcase this against, this is the Incarnation of Dread, the Uber version with Maven. Because the main utility of this build is for Ubers, or to kill very tough enemies. But this is actually a build that can do other content. This is not exclusively a overkiller, so I'm also going to showcase a D17 map.
On the edge
For
of
the
a
starter,
new
I was
tomorrow.
casting Determination with March of the Legion
A secure future
generate the
for
remembrance
one
before the fight starts. That's like
Nothing
the loop when I
within the
roll levels.
reality of torment.
Then I summon, he strikes, and as you can see, my damage is not incredible. No, it's not something beyond what other builds can make. But to compensate for that, I'm pretty tanky. You can see now these 2, hopefully. This is not a fight that is like for free to me. I can't die doing this. Can't happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen now. But I'm doing well right now, so hopefully everything turns out well. There goes the first phase. Generate, but generate the remembrance. Some Shaper. Slam. Now I get real damage. Maven was healing him.
Means to an end.
That's it, I'm pretty tanky, I can deal with it. Oh. Oops, oh, I died very stupidly. Sorry. This way I can show you a bit of something. When you die fighting a boss, in this case in particular, you have a kind of safe zone or safe zone here, but not really. Some attacks can reach here, but I can take my time to cast Determination 3 times to get the Shaper again.
In the darkest part of your mind, there's untold power.
Even kill him, so
The power is an illusion.
I'm dealing real damage. I'm not paying attention, so he doesn't get me with that.
Darkness is everything we need.
to the
Means
phase.
to an end.
Paper, the incarnation.
Intolerance.
This is not free, this especially the incarnation of neglect. The 3 balls that it shoots deal a lot of damage and those can indeed kill. But not this time. Okay.
Good power is an illusion. Darkness is everything we see.
There it go.
Means to an end.
For last transition.
Intolerance. Rapture of the mind. I am not the end.
Give yourself to the void.
Good power is an illusion made real. In the depths of her mind, she wholly informs me. Darkness is everything.
And there you go.
Not erased soul.
Get a whisper. So yeah, that's how the build performs for single target or bossing in general. It's pretty tanky. I can play badly and die for sure. That happens, as you saw. Now let's see how it looks on a map. Because if you have seen other builds that use the ring, the wool spike, they typically are. I saw one that was like deleting overs, like killing them in half a second. But that was basically only for killing overs. Like as strong as possible the first hit with a weapon swap, and then the main attack only speed. It's exclusive speed, no damage. In my case, as you can see, I deal some amount of damage with those cycle momentum, good enough for clear to kill basic enemies. If I find something tough, I summon the shaper. That's basically how I play. Like for instance, if there's a soul eater and I eat like a million souls, well, I summon the shaper. But otherwise, this is perfectly comfortable to play. And this is not a dangerous map. These 17s are pretty manageable with this. I mean, in terms of damage. But obviously, clear, this is not gonna be an amazing build for clearing. This is just okay. Had ritual active, I forgot. There you go. Face almost instantly. Start to cast determination to spend my energy shield paper. Summon hopefully as quickly. Hopefully to summon a bit before the enemy spawns, so, because the animation for summoning the shaper is quite long. I think the shaper didn't do anything. He dodged my attack, so I'm dealing the damage only on double momentum, but you can see that it is still okay. To show the tankiness, I'm gonna take on the babies. You can see that they are dangerous, but I'm not dying. Yeah. I think my computer is having a bit of a problem with OBS plus the game. And the million explosions. But I can still play. I kill a few. Like I said, I can tank them, but they are still a lot of damage. Might as well be careful. No, I'm dead. Okay. So, as you can see, being stupid and not paying attention can get you killed. Not immortal, but I can tank quite a bit. the fact. There you go. Oh yeah. Hopefully it was at least funny how like there goes Katarina. So yeah, another stupid death. Gonna blame it on the fact that I'm speaking while I'm playing. But yeah, this is how the build works. You can see it basically can do most of the content. I can do simulacrum, do overs. The only over I have not done is over Sirius because the doing Sirius with strike skills is simply terrible. It's not a good time. You are only gonna suffer. So now let's go a bit more in depth with the build. So like I said, the main purpose of double strike is hit fast. Not necessarily that hard, but still hard enough that it deals some damage. So it's on a 16 momentum for attack speed, faster attack for attack speed, rage that give me rage, but also attack speed, and melee splash because this is for clear. I'm gonna talk a bit about this later. And the source of flat damage is trauma support. So this is a trauma support build that gives me, as I'm hitting, each hit gives me a stack of trauma. The stack of trauma gives me physical attack damage, but also makes me take damage for each trauma that I have every time I hit. The way you counter that is with Untiring from the Juggernaut Ascendancy, which regenerates life based on the life that I have prevented, or the physical damage that I have prevented in the past 10 seconds. So, as you saw in the fight, my life regeneration gets pretty high after a bit of time fighting. So, this is the main source of recovery of life, and to recover energy shield, because, like I said, we are spending a lot with determination, or just with hitting, because we're hitting so fast that we're spending energy shield very fast. The way we recover that during fights is with Divine Shield, which is basically the same as the Untiring, but for energy shield. So these are the main mechanics of the build. This is how it works, how you solve the damage and recovery. Now, to go into a bit more detail, I'm gonna go with path of building. I forgot to open it beforehand, but it should be on the correct cap. So this is the character. As you can see, 7.7 million DPS with those lack of momentum. This is a bit after ramp. Obviously, you have to hit a bunch of time to get the trauma stacking, to get to the 10 stages. But the 10 stages you get pretty fast. And I'm getting 9.38 attacks per second, which is actually slow for those lack of momentum with trauma. You usually go to 15 or even 20 attacks. But the problem with that is that the Legacy of Rose is not a melee weapon, or not that much at least. You can see it has an okay amount of physical damage, but pretty low really. You will want to go maybe even twice this much with a crafted weapon. So, and it doesn't have a attack speed roll. So this is not a good martial weapon to hit it. Obviously, we're using it for the Shaper. But still, this is a pretty nice amount of damage just to clear. And for the real DPS after getting a Shaper's Devastation, the Shaper's Slam is not really this number, because the battlefield does not know how this ring works. It's kind of complicated. You can get an estimate by saying, well, if this deals 6.8 million with damage with an impale, I think I can do 5 impales, so it's 1/5 of this, and it deals 9.338, so it's around like 10 millions more, but I believe it feels like more damage, so maybe the calculations are having more problems than just that. So that's basically the core of the build. Like I said, I'm using March of the Legion. March of the Legion is basically to spend a lot of energy shield before the fight starts, to get all the remembrance beforehand. because I need to spend, like I said, 2000 energy shield. If I started attacking, I am spending, but it's not that quick. Because you see here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. It's still pretty quick. You don't really need them, but feels good. And an extra aura is also really, really nice. You can see my determination is level 33, so this is quite a lot of armor that I have close to all the time, or I will just have to remember to keep casting. Well, so like I said, March of the Legion, the point of this is just to get a lot of to spend energy shell quickly, because if I was in the middle of the fight, but I don't have the Shaper, maybe I have to be moving, and I spend energy shell a lot slower than that, right? If I'm going like that, I'm not spending the energy shell as fast as if I just stay still. So if I go like this, as you can see, it's not as good. Instead of just going around, and there you go. So that's the main idea. Now, for the defense, you can see that his max hit is 35,000, which to me at least is quite a lot. The elementals are okay, pretty good, I would say. Chaos is 29. Again, good enough for me. With the recovery I have, I think that's more than enough. I have, let me see, 31, 32,000 armor without conditionals, only with determination. With like when I create, I deal more, I get more armor, or when I block, I don't remember, so I can get up to 35. So very close, not much difference. And the conditionals for this, there are a few things. First of all, well, I am not like I have Immortal Call, but it's not thick. With Mortal Call, I get far more defenses. But the the ones that you might complain, which like I said, you can forget to cast Determination, and that changes quite a lot the Fizz max hit. It now becomes 23, which to me is still very good. I could be moving, I could be moving and forget to cast Determination, and now I get to 18, or well, more like 19 Fizz max hit. So still very good. I also have cap block for attacks and spells. So in my view, at least, this is quite a lot of defenses. So, I'm getting power charges. This may be a bit controversial because I'm using Assassin's Spark with cast when damage taken, which for an overboss, no problem. I'm gonna hit the enemy like 10 times a second or 9 times a second, so I will get fairly quickly to the max power charges. So that's why I have them click here. Endurance charges I get obviously for the ascendancy. This one, the trauma also works for this, so that when I hit, I attack, I get hit myself, and that procs the generation of endurance charges. So in like a fraction of a second, you get the full endurance charge. Other than that, I'm using undeniable to get accuracy because I'm using crits, and I'm using unrelenting for even more physical damage. Other than that, the three, as you can see, I'm going for the impale nodes, endurance charges, the staff nodes. This point maybe I can take off, but I don't really have any use for just a single point. Endurance charge, power charge, and the block nodes. You can see I took all of these staff nodes for block. Same with this one seed. And with that I get to block. Other than that, the important use that I have is this cluster here. The main part of this is to get Overlord. This is the one that matters the most because this gives you fortification, which is quite a lot of defense. Again, fortification, you can see it's noticeable. But the other two just go with something that gives you damage. This is 40%. This is a chance to deal double damage. Sometimes you see it. Sometimes you see the Shaper does the double damage, and then you delete the overboss because you're dealing obviously pretty much double damage with all of your hits afterwards. But not all the time, so the rest of the time is just 30%. Not necessary if you just go with 3 nodes that give you damage. You can even take these two if you don't feel like they're necessary, but as you can see, my damage changes quite a bit. Other than that, I'm using Rune Graph of the Jeweler. This gives me basically 60% more than increased damage because my staff has 6 unlinked heroes. We also have the Gemcraft, the Runecraft of the Gemcraft. This is mainly because trauma support gives you more damage the more level the gem is. This is a 21 plus from this one gives you another one, so 22 gives you a bit of extra damage. This is obviously good for everything. Everything gains a bit of extra from that, but it's not really that important. Other than that, the tree, like I said, is nothing really that special, but I am using Tide of Meaning with increased physical damage because the Shaper is physical and my attacks are physical because Trauma is physical. This is somewhat expensive. It's like 8 divines. It could be. It is important. It gives you quite a bit, but it's not the end of the world. If I take it off, you can see my damage fall basically a million here, and with Shaper's Devastation is the Impale is basically the one I'm looking at, 5.8, full Tide of Meaning, 6.8, so also a million, right? So it is very good, but no, it's not the end of the world if you cannot afford it. Other than that, I'm using Red Dream to get a lot of life. See, 5.1 thousand is pretty good. And for that, I'm using tattoos. The replica Red Dream, of Fallborn Red Dream, sorry, no replica, Fallborn, is pretty cheap, but the fire resistant tattoos are quite expensive. So you might have to spend money there. Other than that, I'm using this Watcher's Eye. As you can see, the important part here is just the physical damage reduction. That's all. The other are good. I'm using precision, so the increased attack damage is good, but not that big of a deal. The reduced reflect physical damage is completely not trustworthy. You can use this plus the Soul of Jogul to get immune to reflect, but you have to remember to cast determination all the time, otherwise you instantly kill yourself. So don't trust that. That's not something I would say. Other than that, I'm using Storm Shroud to deal with elemental ailments, and I'm doing that with my belt. It's pretty good belt, and a lot of life, resistances, avoid being shocked here, and I will go with CD immunity and also avoid being shocked. These two give me the 100%, and that's how I deal with elemental ailments. Other than that, let me see here if there's any other item worth mentioning. All right, I'm using Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame for Tukohama's War Herald. So this one is this, the one that gives us ancestral code to the skill in your body armor, which in my case is Double Strike of Momentum. So that helps a lot with the clear because I target 2 additional enemies. My gloves also give me another 2 enemies. So I'm hitting 4 enemies nearby me. Now, an interesting aspect of this is that I mentioned before is that I'm using Awakened melee splash support. And if you see the tree, you can see that I'm pretty close to Tribal Fury, which is, I believe, is straight up better because melee splash deals less damage in the surrounding targets. This has no penalty, so it could be good to use this, but this might be just an illusion and I'm completely wrong. But I feel like sometimes the splash was not considered a melee strike, so the wall spike will not work and the impales will be consumed. Like I will deal a lot of damage. I will cast I will summon the Shaper. He will deal the slam. I will deal a lot of damage for like half a second, and then the impales will get consumed, and I will go back to deal normal damage. So I believe, but you should if you are interested in playing the same, try it yourself. Try Rival Fury and see if that works for you. But to me, it seems like doesn't always work. So for bosses, I typically use Brutality instead of Awakened Melee Splash. Again, you can try for yourself. Beyond that, now let's talk a bit about budget in case you really want to play this. Like I said, Legacy of the Rose is the main component, and Legacy of the Rose is actually very cheap. You can see I'm looking for one with +5 levels of all skill gems, which is very not important because the only thing that matters for skill gems or spells, sorry, is precision, which is important, gives you accuracy and critical. Flesh and Stone, which doesn't really gain much from level. I mean, it does gain some, gives you something, but not that much. Oh, by the way, I'm using this in stance most of the time. If you feel like you don't need it, go to Blood Stance and you're gonna deal quite a bit more damage. But since I was doing Ubers, I go with some stance. So yeah, as you can see, with +5, this is 35 chaos. Now, what you really want is damage. So, to work with by most damage, you can see that this is 3 divine, 4 divines, 10 divines, but then you go to 1 divine, and is the roll is even better than mine. Oh, sorry. That roll of this roll 297 is better than the one that I have. I have 293. So just 1 divine in the weapon, 50 chaos for slightly less, which is still better than mine. This one is straight up better than mine. And the only thing, mine is better, but only because I have the enchantment for increased physical, explicit physical. But while this is an increasing damage, you shouldn't worry too much about it. It's not the end of the world. You cannot afford it. So this one very cheap, not a problem. March of the Legion. I'm using one with +1 maximum endurance charges, but and that is basically free. You can see +1 is 1 chaos, and this is real. You can travel to the hideouts. This is free. I think people remember that March of the Legion is good, so they pick it up, corrupted, and then they realize this is worthless. So you can go with 30 moment speed, still just 20 chaos. You can have something like this: 16 elemental, 30 movement speed, 1 less plus level of socketed aura, 20 chaos. You can try to look for the perfect one, and probably still pretty cheap. So March of the Legion, also not a problem. Wall spikes. Now, this one you have to care a bit about this mod here. Reduce impale duration, because you don't want your impales to end too quickly. To compensate with that, this node right here gives you increased impale duration, so 50% compensates almost entirely 28. This one I look for the corruption for elemental resistance because I am using one with cannot be poison and one with resistance because I needed to fix my resistance, and even that is just 1 divine. And with at most losing 30% duration and at least 50% on this because you need that 2 of these and together they have to give you at least 100%. Okay? So 2 divines in the ranks basically. Now I said that I'm using Tukohama for the Forbidden Flesh and Flame, and this one is a bit complicated because I bought it long before because I used it for another build. This one, the Forbidden Flesh, is cheaper now. You can see just 3. I bought mine for like 5 or 6. But the other one, the Forbidden Flame, for some reason is very expensive. So this is going down in price. It was like 30 divines just in the morning today. So maybe it will go down. You can give it a try. Otherwise, you can just pick something else because, like I said, you can get +1 or +2 in the gloves. The +2 is expensive, so you can just go with +1. And this is just for clear, this is not for bosses. And there are quite a lot of other options here. You can pick, well, you can pick, for instance, Unstoppable, which will be very nice. They care about action speed. I'm using even Unbreakable can give you quite a bit of defense. Or, but if you can pay for it as aspect of Carnage, or something else, right? There are many options, a lot of good options. Attack speed with a ray, something else, right? So it's not vital to use this. You can do something else. Other than that, that's pretty much it. My Watcher Sight, like I said, I'm using Watcher Sight for physical damage reduction while affected by termination. This is kind of important because it helps you against the self damage from trauma. You don't want to kill yourself, and it can happen to you. For instance, I have run maps with 30% less defenses, T17 mod, and with that, in those maps, what happens is my energy shield gets very low, so I cannot use domination. I have to take away empower. Oh, sorry, more duration. So it's cheaper, and then I can cast it. And if I don't cast it, I die very quickly to self damage from trauma. So nothing to worry. You should care about physical damage reduction as much as possible. But if you only pick this mod, it's just one divine, and there are many for second, right? So it shouldn't be a problem. Other than that, well, these are the uniques. Other than Light of Meaning, also Grand Physical. This is 8 divine, like I said. It's a bit more expensive, but you can pay for it. Beyond that, the other items I'm using are very normal. These are just rares. Like I said, this is very good belt, but you can get by with less life. Like the Elder you see here, that was a lucky Elder Exalt. So you can go by without that. My gloves, other than the normal skill, strike skills target to additional nearby enemies, this is just a good item. This league, these items are very cheap because of the tree. My helmet also nothing special. I'm using the one that reduce life regeneration because I was doing Maven Witness, and there are not really any important implicit here. So just pick whatever you want. My body armor, PDR again, life, defenses, and resistance. My necklace is very good. It's very good, but not necessarily for me. I got this is a double anoint, and the two anoints are very good. So the anoints that I'm using are this one, and with this I get a cap on block for both attack and spells. So that's that's important. If you have to, it's very unlikely that you can get the same amulet as me. So just go for this one. But the other one is one of the unique ones that you can only get from an anoint, and is this that increases the effect of impale once the duration is once it has been in effect for more than 1 second. And since the impales last the full duration, this is almost always increase effect. Right? So you can see here that impale goes up by quite a lot after 1 second. So yeah, that's basically it. Also, like you say here, this is a +2 amulet, but I'm not using spells. The damage effectiveness of those momentum goes up a little bit, but it's not really that much, not important. My determination is level 33. This is a bit more armor. Precision does gain a lot from this because my accuracy was a bit of a problem to solve, but you can just roll a better suffix for accuracy, and that will be better. I would also recommend to get a base with intelligence because I needed a bit more intelligence to solve attribute requirements. But like I said, you don't need a +2. This is you gain very little from that, so don't worry about it. For body armor, it's important. Remember that you should get a sacred chainmail with good defense stats because you want to have a good amount of energy shield. Because otherwise you cannot cast determination, and also you are going to have Elrich battery, so you need at least some piece with energy shield, and all the armor is gonna be enough, right? So you need energy shield and some item. I went with the armor. Maybe you can go with gloves and helmet, probably similar results, but that's up to you to decide. For the graft, I'm using impaling graft for obvious reasons. This is all about impale and increase cruel physical damage. And edge gráficos, my defenses are good enough that I can deal with taking more damage. That's basically it. Like I said, very good build. I like it a lot. This is, and it works for almost all the content. So if you like the video, or if you're interested or you have a suggestion, please leave in the comments. And that's it for me. Thank you very much for watching.